Alright, first big part is done. But these are just your first steps to mastering endpoint security. There is more out there to research and more useful programs and tools that will help you increase your endpoint device security. Nonetheless, you have a strong foundation now to continue researching further all the topics that we mentioned in this specific section. In this video, let's perform a quick recap before we move on to the network security. As we already know, the main goal or main purpose of endpoint security is to secure and protect our endpoint devices. Whether that being a laptop, a computer, a mobile phone or a server, it doesn't matter. There are different things and methods that we cover to enhance security, starting from installing and enabling an antivirus software. We talked about default antivirus programs for Windows and Mac OS, and we also mentioned what other good antivirus softwares or endpoint protection softwares can you install and what benefit do they give you. Remember, the important note from these lectures is if privacy is important to you, it's always best to read the privacy policy of all the softwares that you install. Another important topic that we talked about are host-based firewalls. We introduced ourselves to the default firewalls installed on all the systems from macOS to Linux and Windows. We saw how we can use IP tables and which commands can we run to filter traffic on Linux systems. My personal advice would be to dive deeper into IP tables since they are widely being used not just as a standalone software but also by various other tools and programs that control IP tables through their interface. We also saw the default Windows firewall and we saw how to turn on the macOS default firewall in case we need it. Third important topic we mentioned were password managers. This is something 99% of us need if we want to keep our online accounts more secure. We saw an example of using KeePass, which is free to use password manager, and we saw how we can set it up with our online accounts. Plus, we talked about some other paid password managers that you can choose in case you want to level up your account security. And let's not forget the first topic that we talked about, which were browsers. Browsers are usually the things that we use the most on our endpoint devices, so it is important that we secure them the most. We talked about Brave browser, which has a bunch of different security and privacy settings that allow you to enhance your security online when visiting random websites. We also talked about more known browsers out there such as Firefox, Safari and Chrome, and how to enhance security in those as well. And few other things that we mentioned were how to discover malware on Windows systems and how to figure out where the unusual network connections are coming from. We did all of this with the help of tools such as Process Explorer, Wireshark and Netstat, and we also saw an example of Process Explorer for macOS and Linux systems, which is called HTOP, and at the end we talked about how to securely delete our files in case we don't want anyone to be able to see or retrieve them. All of this in combination refers to endpoint security. But as I mentioned, this is only just the start, and you should dive deeper into each topic that we talked about even more in case that's what you're interested in. Let's also not forget another thing that we talked about before endpoint security, but that can affect endpoint security, which is social engineering. This can also present a danger to our endpoint device if we don't know what files are we downloading from the internet and if we plug in unknown USB devices to our machine, which can result in malware infecting it. These are all the things that we talked about already and that you should refer to whenever you want to secure a certain device. Nonetheless, we got one big topic behind us now and we're ready to dive deeper, perhaps into even more complex topic, which is network security.